When the private detective handed the file to me, my mind buzzed.
Ma'am, I understand this is a huge shock for you, but it's the truth.
The daughter I had cherished for 18 years wasn't my biological child? How could this be? The daughter I had painstakingly brought into this world, the one I had treated as my precious jewel for 18 years. She wasn't my biological child? What about my biological daughter? Do you have any information on her?
Yes, ma'am. Here.
I opened the folder and was stunned. The girl inside was none other than Emma, my adopted daughter's classmate, whom I had humiliated with $50,000 just 3 days ago in a cafe. How could this be? As her biological mother, I had hurt my own daughter, whom I had never met, based on my adopted daughter's words. That child had endured such humiliation and held back her tears. How much pain must she have felt inside? My chest heaved, and I could hardly breathe.
We've also found out what you asked us to investigate. Your husband's affair is with his college ex-girlfriend. The last time they met was 3 days ago.
My hand trembled as I gripped the sofa armrest. 3 days ago, wasn't that when I noticed something off between my husband and the housekeeper?
Your husband's affair is with your housekeeper, Sarah. 18 years ago, Sarah had a C-section and gave birth on the same day as you.
As I stepped out of the detective agency, my vision went black, and I felt the world spinning around me before collapsing to the ground. Surprisingly, I didn't feel any pain from the fall. I opened my eyes. A girl beside me was helping me up.
Ma'am, you need to see a doctor. Let me call an ambulance for you.
Tears welled up in my eyes. It was my daughter. The same daughter I had driven away 3 days ago. 3 days ago, in a cafe, I had used the most hurtful words to insult her background and her origins. I had even demeaned her with money, mocking her as someone unworthy of her aspirations. Yet here she was, not holding a grudge, still willing to take me to the hospital.
You must be Lily. I'm sorry, I went too far 3 days ago.
Even though I desperately wanted to tell her that I was her biological mother, I had to hold back. This child was kind and intelligent, but not cunning enough. She was too easily exposed. A flash of surprise crossed Lily's face. Her fingers tightened, and a look of disgust flickered in her eyes. But in the end, she exhaled a breath of resignation and continued to support me. I could tell that her assistance was an instinctive reaction, her body acting before her mind. She was indeed my daughter, genetics don't lie. Even in a harsh environment, she had blossomed like a lotus in the mud.
It was presumptuous of me, I'm sorry.
Hearing my apology, Lily was utterly astonished. I seized the opportunity to invite her to a meal to thank her. She initially declined, but when I showed a bit of reluctance, she nodded in agreement. It was a bit challenging. She had a people-pleasing personality. Watching her enjoy a simple family-style restaurant meal with such relish showed how tough her life had been. I turned my head, feeling a sting in my eyes. She put down her fork, looking flustered.
Ma'am, please don't cry.
I really like Michael. I know Olivia likes him too, but Michael never said Olivia was his girlfriend. We are competing fairly. I'm not stealing your daughter's boyfriend, and I'm not a homewrecker. I reached out to touch her head. She instinctively shuddered. My heart ached even more. This child had truly been through a lot. My acquaintance with Emma began with my adopted daughter Olivia's plea.
Mom, you have to help me. There's this girl at school. She's trying to steal Michael from me.
Olivia was crying on my lap, her tears soaking through my clothes. Her words brought back painful memories of my own. I had once experienced my husband's betrayal. Back then, I was powerless to do anything about it. But now, with the Lynn family's business relying on me, I couldn't let my daughter suffer the same fate. Determined to protect Olivia, I arranged a meeting with the girl she mentioned, Emma. We met at a quaint cafe. When I first saw Emma, I was taken aback. Her eyes were pure, devoid of any deceit. Could this really be the manipulative girl Olivia had described? Emma was polite but visibly uneasy. I decided to get straight to the point.
Here's $1 million. Leave Michael.
The classic line made me laugh inwardly. I felt like a stereotypical evil mother-in-law from a soap opera. Emma was startled. She stared at me in shock before pushing the card back.
Auntie, Michael and I just like each other. He's single, and we're free to date. I haven't spent any of his money.
Such a child, I couldn't bring myself to be harsh.
I'm Olivia's mother, and Michael and Olivia are currently dating.
Emma looked even more puzzled.
But Michael told me himself that he has nothing to do with Olivia.
My protectiveness for Olivia clouded my judgment. I harshly criticized Emma, targeting her family background and character. The child clutched her clothes until they wrinkled but didn't cry out. It was only after she left the cafe that she burst into tears. Looking back now, I realize I was too emotional and overlooked many objective factors. I hadn't even considered Michael's character and had unjustly humiliated another woman. It was truly inappropriate. I suggested compensating Emma. At first, she was very resistant, but when I mentioned that her excellent grades could lead to an internship at my company, her attitude noticeably softened.
An internship? At your company?
Such strong self-esteem can be both a blessing and a curse. I've suffered greatly from excessive pride myself. Emma stayed with me at the hospital until the afternoon, while my own daughter, Olivia, whom I cherished, didn't even come to see me. I checked my social media and, after sending just 2 red envelopes, received a series of screenshots. Olivia was flaunting her wealth at a bar, opening a champagne tower, and had even blocked me from seeing her posts. Even though her own mother was ill, she still had the heart to go out and party. Every afternoon, I would ask her if she needed money, never missing a day. Now, I hadn't contacted her for just 1 afternoon, and she showed no concern, instead indulging in revelry at a bar. In Olivia's eyes, what am I? A mother or an ATM? I had once considered the bond between mother and daughter, but now I looked at Emma.
Emma, you are very talented. I want to support you. I also want to adopt you as my daughter. This way, you won't have to work part-time anymore. I'll cover your tuition and expenses. You just need to focus on your studies.
Emma was overwhelmed. I patted her head.
Don't be nervous, and don't think negatively. I genuinely admire your achievements. Being admitted with the top grades in the entire school, you are outstanding.
Auntie, you are the first person, besides Michael, to recognize my worth.
My heart ached. What kind of life had my daughter lived before? I made up my mind to formally adopt her and completed the adoption procedures, spending 3 whole days away from home. Neither Olivia nor my husband, John, called to check if I was safe. Looking at the adoption papers in my hand, I felt a deep, indescribable bitterness. For 3 days, The one who stayed with me and took care of me was my biological daughter, whom I had known for only 3 days. Meanwhile, the adopted daughter I had cared for and nurtured for 18 years treated me like I was invisible. This only strengthened my resolve to bring Emma home.
Auntie, I suddenly showing up, won't it be too?
Call me Mom. You are now a legal member of my family, my daughter. You are not visiting, you are coming home.
As I led her inside, we heard Olivia complaining from the living room while playing a game.
Mom, bring my takeout to the kitchen and put it on a plate.
My face darkened. It was clear who she was calling Mom. She had known all along that Sarah, the housekeeper, was her biological mother, while I was the one kept in the dark, the ultimate fool.
Olivia.
Hearing my voice, Olivia fell off the sofa and turned around, displeased.
Mom, why are you yelling?
Her face froze.
Emma, what are you doing in my house?
Emma shivered. I held her hand, comforting her, urging her to stand tall.
From today, Emma is your sister, my daughter.
Sarah's high-pitched voice nearly pierced my eardrums.
What, Mom? Are you adopting this person?
I stepped forward and pinched her face.
Sarah, when did I ever teach you to insult others so casually?
Mom, I'm your daughter. How can you choose someone else?
My biological daughter left me in the hospital for 3 whole days, ignoring me while she enjoyed herself at a bar?
Sarah, feeling guilty, quickly lowered her head. At that moment, someone descended the stairs from the 2nd floor. My husband, John, saw Sarah cowering like a quail and immediately pointed at me, shouting,
Grace, are you out of your mind, yelling at the child as soon as you get back?
Do you even care about me anymore?
I rolled my eyes. When I found out I was expecting Emma, John was already seeing Sarah. There was no love left between us. If we weren't mortal enemies, it was only because of my tolerance. Sarah, he really does care about her. But unfortunately, Sarah is just a high school graduate working odd jobs. John's parents couldn't stand her, seeing nothing in her but a pretty face, and preferred me, an MIT graduate. I thought John kneeling to propose to me meant he had truly cut ties with his past. Little did I know, he just wanted a competent worker to help his company. And I, Grace, have been the biggest fool all these years. I clenched my fists, saying nothing, and looked at Sarah. If she had any sense of familial duty, any gratitude for 18 years of upbringing, she wouldn't let John humiliate me like this. She suddenly raised her head and pushed me away forcefully.
Mom, you really disappoint me. You've always been a tyrant at home, having your way. Now that I'm finally grown, you still don't consider my feelings. You're not my mom. You're a monster, a cold-hearted monster.
My heart felt like it had plunged into an icy abyss. This was the daughter I had cherished for 18 years. I took a deep breath and held Emma's hand tightly. Her cool touch gave me infinite warmth.
I'm not asking for your opinion. The paperwork is already done. If you don't accept Emma, she and I will move out tomorrow.
I saw the father and daughter duo's faces light up with joy.
Huh. Have they forgotten who has been supporting them all these years? Additionally, I will publicly resign as the company's chief engineer and take my team with me.
John's face changed dramatically upon hearing those words. The Lin family was in the electronic engineering business, and their new product development was at a critical juncture. My departure as the chief engineer would undoubtedly deal a severe blow to the company, potentially leading to its collapse.
Grace, Do you really have to be this ruthless?
Of course.
With that, I led Emma upstairs.
I'll give you all one night to think it over.
Emma felt uneasy about our argument.
Mom, should I not have come back?
Don't worry, everything will be fine. You don't need to concern yourself with them.
But I underestimated the Lynn family's despicable nature. That night, I heard a commotion in the living room. When I stepped out, I saw John slap Emma across the face. Her fair skin was now swollen and red. Not satisfied, he kicked her in the back of her knee.
You wretch! How dare you harm Olivia? Do you even know who you are?
Olivia stood by the stairs, her face covered in bruises, crying uncontrollably.
Emma, you stole my boyfriend, my mother, and now you want to take my home too?
I was shaken to my core. It couldn't be true. Emma would never harm someone in secret. She was on her knees, trying to defend herself, but John's slap came down again.
You wretch! How dare you lie?
Unable to contain my anger any longer, I called the police and rushed out of the room, shielding Emma. John saw me but didn't stop his hand. With a loud smack, his palm landed heavily on my face. He then tried to turn the tables.
Grace, look at what you've brought into our home. She tried to harm Olivia.
I didn't. I didn't push Olivia. She fell on her own.
You're lying. You were clearly plotting against me.
I didn't. I didn't do anything like that.
Olivia, now clinging to my hand, added fuel to the fire.
Mom, please kick her out. She's trying to hurt me.
I shook off her hand.
Olivia, tell the truth. Did Emma really push you?
Her eyes flickered.
Of course she did.
I closed my eyes, the last bit of sympathy I had for her evaporating.
Then let the police decide.
I greeted the officers at the door.
Officers, we have surveillance cameras in the living room. Let's handle this officially.
At the mention of surveillance, both John and Olivia were visibly shaken. They tried to say something, but I didn't want to hear a word. The police reviewed the footage. It showed Emma getting up for a drink of water and politely asking Olivia where the water dispenser was. Olivia responded with insults and physical aggression. Emma protected herself, and Olivia took the opportunity to roll down the stairs. John stood by, watching the entire time.
I didn't hurt anyone. I didn't do anything like that.
Olivia muttered under her breath, desperately trying to defend herself, but I didn't want to hear another word. I signaled to the police.
I don't want to settle this privately. Let's handle it officially. Charge them with disturbing the peace.
The police officer glanced at Emma's swollen face and bruises, his expression stern.
Ma'am, are you serious? Provoking trouble, if serious, can lead to up to 5 years of detention or imprisonment.
What? I don't want to go to jail. Mom, I don't want to go to jail.
I closed my eyes and pried Olivia's fingers off one by one.
Olivia, you're an adult now. You need to take responsibility for your actions.
With that, I took Emma to the hospital, ignoring the father and daughter being taken away by the police, their shouts echoing behind us.
Does it hurt?
I looked at Emma's face, thinking of her past, wishing these injuries were on me instead.
A little.
From now on, with Mom around, you won't suffer anymore.
Olivia and John were eventually only sentenced to 15 days of detention. The Lin family's relatives pulled some strings at the police station. They didn't dare come to me, so they harassed Emma. After I caught them a few times and expelled them from the core of the Lin family business, they finally quieted down. But I never expected that Emma would come to plead for Olivia.
Mom, let's just let it go. After all, I'm just an adopted daughter, and Olivia is your biological daughter. Let's write a letter of forgiveness.
Emma, tell Mom, have the Lin family relatives been bothering you?
No. It's what I want.
I almost fainted from anger.
People can be kind, but not to the point of having no boundaries. When it harms oneself, forgiveness is not suitable in this jungle society. If you retreat, you will only be preyed upon.
I held my head, feeling dizzy and unable to speak.
Mom, we'll be family in the future. We'll see each other often.
You consider them family, but they may not see you as family.
Even though I sternly warned Emma, she still insisted on pleading for Olivia and hoped I wouldn't leave a stain on Olivia's record. Silly child. But since she requested it, I didn't stop her. Adults must take responsibility for their actions. This hard lesson can only be learned through personal experience. As her mother, the only thing I can do is support her. After Olivia returned home, although she no longer actively targeted Emma, she still looked at Emma with disdain. Emma's several attempts to make peace were ignored.
Mom, what should I do?
Some people are destined to be unapproachable, and you shouldn't force it.
I discovered a significant funding gap in our project. After some investigation, I found out that John was embezzling public funds. I had the finance department monitor John's actions. Unexpectedly, the private investigator brought news. He led me to a villa estate. Initially, the security guard at the gate refused to let me in. I directly showed him my marriage certificate with John. Only then did he relent, but he insisted on making a phone call. I had the private investigator stop him and decisively called the police, reporting John for inappropriate gatherings. I followed the police in, and the scene before me was blinding. John and our housemaid, Sarah, were entangled, disheveled.
Honey!
John was terrified. I didn't look at him, walking step by step to the bed.
You, what do you want to do?
The police are here. What can I do?
I smiled at her, my eyes almost spitting fire. Suddenly, someone burst in from outside. It was Olivia.
Dad, what's going on? Why are there so many police? You and Mom.
Seeing me out of the corner of her eye, Olivia instinctively covered her mouth.
Mom?
Are you calling me? Or her?
Sarah covered her face, not daring to speak.
Grace, are you crazy? I want a divorce.
Divorce? Of course, we would divorce. But not now.
John thought I didn't know he was siphoning off our joint assets, transferring property, and wanted me to find out after the divorce that the Lin family was left with nothing but an empty shell.
Divorce? Sure, let's wait for the 30-day cooling-off period for divorce.
This cooling-off period inadvertently bought me time. But I never expected Emma to come and plead again.
Mom, anyway, I'll be with you in the future, but what about Olivia without a mom?
Emma, I can't agree to this.
Emma, seeing my refusal, seemed relieved. I secretly had a private investigator follow Emma. Unexpectedly, I had neglected Emma during this time, almost leading her to a tragic end.
How dare Michael?
Emma had been harassed and developed Stockholm Syndrome, falling for her abuser. The one behind all this was Michael. He lured Emma to the school's equipment room, took inappropriate photos, and heroically drove away the boys, manipulating Emma.
If I hadn't told Emma to get a health check before any intimate relationship, she might have been recorded in inappropriate videos by now.
Subsequent pleas were all Michael manipulating her. Perhaps Michael pushed too hard. Emma came to plead several more times.
Mom, please. Mom, why aren't you saying anything?
I took Emma into the room. The TV played a video I had the private investigator hire paparazzi to shoot. Michael was entangled with Olivia on the bed, constantly mocking her.
Emma is such a pure fool. If that heartless, malicious mom of hers knew her biological daughter was like this, she'd probably drop dead on the spot.
Emma was stunned, tears streaming down her face.
How could this be? So it was Michael who set me up.
She threw herself into my arms, crying uncontrollably.
It's not too late to wake up now.
She wiped her tears, turning her grief into strength.
Mom, let me handle this, okay?
A woman's greatest motivation is revenge. I gladly agreed to Emma's request but secretly followed her. In the cafe, Michael used his old tricks. I saw Emma's bright eyes dim again. This was a sign she had finally given up. She lowered her head and handed the documents to Michael. I walked into the cafe and hugged her head.
Mom, I won't make the same mistake again. From now on, it's just the two of us.
Her phone buzzed with a message.
Emma, I'm tired of you always clinging to me. You're annoying. We're breaking up.
John, thinking he had me cornered, publicly accused me of leaking company secrets at the Monday shareholders meeting.
Grace, I never thought you were this kind of person, leading the leak of company secrets. I now propose to expel Grace from the company and pursue legal action.
The shareholders looked at him as if he were a fool. I signaled the shareholders to stay quiet and calmly looked at John.
Evidence?
You want evidence? Fine, I'll make sure you understand today.
John pressed a button on the multimedia device. He closed his eyes and raised his head, looking smug.
Emma, you colluded with another man and stole company.
Before he could finish, the screen played a series of explicit sounds. It was the inappropriate video of Michael and Olivia.
So what? Your foolish girl still stole the documents.
Emma walked in from outside, dressed particularly professionally, holding a folder and a USB drive.
Uncles and aunts of the board, today, I bring evidence of Director John's embezzlement and misappropriation of company funds.
What? You little...
Emma plugged in the USB drive. The screen changed, revealing John's confessions to Sarah.
You little bitch, how dare you film me?
He rushed to hit Emma. I hurried to protect my daughter, taking another slap to the face. Directors on my side couldn't stand it, stepping in to fight John. Seeing the situation escalate, I called security to drag John away.
Wait!
Emma suddenly spoke, walking slowly to John's side. She raised her hand and slapped him hard.
This slap is for my mother.
I smiled, tears blurring my vision. Emma had grown up, truly grown up. The senior directors helped me quickly finalize the divorce procedures before pursuing legal action against John, helping me protect my assets. As for John, after being kicked out, he was homeless and tried to find Sarah. But Sarah's assets were all recovered through marital claims, leaving her destitute. She didn't want to be burdened by John and sold him to Myanmar as a blood donor. But her fate wasn't much better. Olivia, inheriting her selfish genes, drugged her with sleeping pills and sold her to the red light district in Thailand. This dog-eat-dog drama ended with my report. Olivia was arrested and imprisoned for human trafficking. As for Michael, he dared to blackmail Emma with the inappropriate photos afterward. Emma swiftly reported him, and his family spent a large sum of money and made a significant business concession to get Emma to write a letter of forgiveness. Later, the Michael family had internal strife, and Michael, an unskilled second generation, was kicked out. Emma took me shopping, using her first paycheck to buy me a bag when Michael dared to approach and harass us.
Do you need help dealing with him?
Mom, I'm not a love-struck fool anymore. I won't make the same mistake twice.
I smiled and let her handle it. I heard Michael was imprisoned again, this time for illegal intrusion.
Mom, do you think people like him get what they deserve?
Of course, they get what they deserve.